All right, guys, before we start, I'm very humbled and thankful for you joining in. It's an honor for me. I don't usually do a lot of these. This presentation is going to be laid back, easy. It's not a technical one. I hate to waste your time and leave you delusional. If you guys, it's going to be a slow-paced, chill back, chillax, relax, sit down kind of presentation. I hope you're all going to have fun. This is what I want to do. I'm not a technical type of developer. I'm more of a philosophical type of guy. So it's going to be more, if anything, an old man yells at a cloud type of presentation. I hope you're not going to get bored. Let's start. The most important reason why I started this presentation is I've been pondering about what people do and how people work for almost 2 decades now. I've been making games for 17 years right now. And I was lucky and privileged to be a part not only of different teams, but also try different aspects and domains of game developer. I actually worked with some of you in here. And just real quick, I hate talking about myself, so I'll try to make this one quick. The first project that I done was The Witcher 1, and I was a full-time producer back then. It was my first job. I started as a coordinator. Then I actually shifted quite drastically and moved to being what they call a face of the game on The Witcher 2. So I got pretty much the other side of like being in the trenches and being very, very much outside of these. Then I moved into the project called Lords of the Fallen, and in that one I was desperately and quite miserably, honestly, trying to join both the roles of executive producer and creative director. Don't do this at home. It's not working. Anyways, I got a lot of experience, and it's something different than the previous two. Then, of course, I started my own kind of podcast stream, YouTube thingy, totally private. It was just my own initiative. Thank you to everybody involved who spent hours with me talking, yelling at clouds. It was great. It was fun. I also learned totally different things in that. And it was somewhere about that in 2015 when I was lucky, privileged enough to actually get my own egg. I got the Digital Dragons Award. I think it was 2015. I believe it might have been the first one that they gave to an individual. I'm not bragging off. I was just really humbled and thankful for this. Then I actually got down in the trenches with the indie developers. That was the first time in my life. I worked with Destructive Creations in Gliwice, and I helped them make the game called Ancestors Legacy. It was also the first time I ever worked on an RTS, real-time strategy game. Totally brand new experience. And then, of course, I've been working in Flying Wild Hog for almost 5 years right now. I'm a proud hog. It's great. It's been wonderful. I've been dealing with being, I started being a lead producer. Now, I am a product director, and the most important thing for me was always to be able to look at how people work, what they do. This is also what this presentation is going to be about. And right now I'm going to be working a lot with the structures within this whole Embracer group, the Play-On group. We're part of that. It's a lot of, coordination and talking to people. I believe I'm not too bad at that. This is only to show you that I've got a lot of experience on, a lot of experience in working in different teams and groups, and I always strived to look at things from various perspectives. Now, this presentation is going to be a lot of things. We're going to start with one of the observations that I've had just recently. I believe we're in a very weird situation as an industry, partly because of what happened a couple last years, but also in a large factor due to what's been happening for like about a decade right now. I call it the predicament. You can call it whatever you want, but the most important thing is there's 4 things that I drew on here. It's probably not everything that is screwed up recently with our industry, but I just wanted to give you guys the things that have been boggling my mind for years right now. So we know that pandemic hit us real hard, and we all know that there is a toll that it took on everybody. So not only our lives have changed, we have become a different people. A lot of us have changed mentally, and I don't only mean remote work, which is on the other side here, dragging us downwards. I also mean that a lot of us has taken a toll mentally because of sitting alone at house, and it changes the way we approach our work. These two things are kind of stretching us very, very thin, like a butter on a piece of bread. The other thing that I wanted to mention is a different type of access, is more of a industry type of situation that we've had for many years right now. On the left side, I have put, it could be right, I don't really care for whatever reason, it just, I just thought these two things are something that stretches everything even more. And we all know that the salaries within the industry have grown throughout, I would say even 10 years or so. They're very high right now. I mean, of course, we all could earn more, I know that. But what I'm saying is, we are a very competitive industry right now, and every single company that is trying to make games with a reasonable budget is competing with pretty much all the other companies out there. It only gets things more difficult and complex for everybody else. Cheers, that was fun, thank you very much. And that means that a lot of people could, like a Polish company, there's totally no problem to hire somebody from UK, for example, but that means a remuneration for this would be significant. We all know this. Also, what we probably know and realize is that budgets of games have grown quite significantly over the last years. It's probably not enough to have $100 million to make a decent AAA these days. It used not to be the case a couple days ago. And of course, it's something that I call project surfing. We're living in 2023, which means more and more generations of people start to take up game dev. Right now, we have one of the, whatever we call them, Gen Z, Gen X, I don't care. The thing is, people these days really do not care about, I mean, that probably doesn't sound right. What I wanted to say, it's not on the top of the priorities of the people to be attached and loyal to one project throughout many, many years. Games take, like the last game that I've done, that was 4 years, so they take quite a lot of time. And people have a tendency these days, especially younger developers, to leave project before it's over. There's nothing wrong about it. I'm just saying that it's a fact. This is what is happening. And we are trying to live in between all, there's probably even more, like 16 or I don't care, 20 factors in here, but these 4 are the most important ones that I've been pondering for a couple past years myself. And I don't know about you guys, but to me, it doesn't sound like a very stable situation. Something will have to give. This is one of the things, this is one of the clouds that I'm yelling right now. I know that it's going to change. My crystal ball is still in a shop, but if I was to say, if I was to predict any parts of the future, I'm pretty sure a lot of the companies, especially bigger ones, if you have a team of more than 30 people, at least partially, they will try to get back to the offices. Just, I'm not judging that. I'm saying this might happen. This is something that you guys should be ready for. Probably raising your salaries, the speed that it was up to now, is not going to be so easy. A lot of developers, a lot of studios will say, check. They will need to validate the credentials, the skills and whatnot before they decide to raise the problems. And probably last but not least is the way we are handling remote work right now. Everybody has heard there's no going back from remote work right now, and we all know that. But the thing is, we do have a situation that we've not had before. I mean, there were a couple studios that used to work remotely, but now there's just way more of these. And we are trying to deal with that and work with that, with the tools that we used for the previous way of work. Like all the meetings, all the Zooms, Teams and Meets and whatnot. These are the tools that were used for way back. Right now, we do not have an idea how to replace a 3D artist meeting and bumping on the 3D artist in a coffee space and asking about this model. Or programmers talking about objects, whatever. I don't know shit about programming. They probably talk about this. So this is the first cloud that we're going to yell at here. I think this is going to change. I might have a couple ideas, getting partially back to work. Not so easy to get our inflation. There's not only inflation of prices everywhere, but in Poland particularly, but also inflation of salaries. Budgets of the games have become stupid. Probably teams will need to join up to make bigger games. It's probably not going to be enough to make huge games just with one team. So guys, you can check me on that in 3, 4, 5 years. We'll see. Maybe I was wrong. I like to admit that I'm wrong whenever I am. Now, the next thing that I want to tell, and don't worry, I have about 10 slides in here. I will try to, not make it very boring. And you don't have to focus too much on this presentation. As I said, let's take it easy, guys. 17 years that I was working in different teams, different projects, I was hearing a lot of things, and I tried to extract for you these, like in no particular orders. But I know that one of the things that was fascinating me, like it was my passion to look, because I was privileged enough to work both with the top management of some of the companies and down in the trenches with the actual devs, and I always was passionate about being in between and seeing both sides of the stick in here. And in my case, I tried to, just a couple, I think 5 or 6 sentences that I quite usually hear from both the managers, the top managers, game directors, leads, producers as well, because they do manage teams as well. And I kind of contrast that with things that I hear from the actual, like, down-to-earth devs that are working on the content. Real quickly. I put the red font for the things that I've heard from top down, from the people that are managing the projects, the companies, and the teams and whatnot. One of the crucial moments when managers appear to be caring too much about the project is when they decide to step in. On the side of the teams, it looks like micromanagement, and the hell, it usually is. We all know about this, but what not everybody knows, and I've learned this, so maybe trying to share that with you, is that usually when manager steps in and starts micromanaging, it's already past the point where he decided multiple times to give everybody the time to try to do things right. Usually, when I talk to managers, they just wait until the team gets their shit together and tries to do things right. Maybe they wouldn't have enough feedback, there's always tons of reasons, but I need to step in is a very important moment, and this is where micromanagement starts, and it's bad for a lot of projects. Very important things that quite a lot of managers, directors say to the team members or leads is, we will fix this later. There's not enough time for iterations. It's always not enough time. But we shouldn't be saying people who are working on their favorite asset or whatever, and they hope that it's just fix it for now and you will have time to fix this later. 9 out of 10 times you won't have time to fix this later. It's probably best to be honest and tell it to everybody. Okay, I know you want to fix this later, but we need to move on. Now, what we call in Hogs is prioritize and cringe. In Polish, that would be priorytetyzujemy poziomem żenady. It's probably better in English, yeah. And this one is very important for people who are looking from the top perspective, because they see the game slightly more as a whole than usually, not always, the devs down in the trenches do. So that means that they are focused on raising the quality of the game as a whole, rather than each animator, designer, writer having their own piece and polishing like a diamond. This is kind of different things that make us close the silos and be kind of on the opposite sides of the fence. That's why, transferring from fun to done, it frustrates a lot of people. This is kind of the whole goal of my presentation. So that's what the top guys do, and I will add the contra to that in just a second. This is obviously broken. You have to remember that just similarly to how the people down close to earth do not always have an overview of the entire game, the people on the top usually have an overview and assume everybody does. Like one of the wise people that I did a podcast with a long time ago said, for somebody who understands something, it is very tough to understand somebody who doesn't. Like you've gone the way to understand, grasp something and see the wider picture. And then it becomes for you tough to understand somebody's still not seeing that because of many reasons. So if a manager or a lead director says this is obviously broken, obviously is only in his head. Maybe it's not been communicated well, that it's obviously broken. It's obviously for you who've been designing, creating that game. Now, very tough moment, and I've been there, I've done it, when you are creating, producing something, and it seems that you have to, like you've gone out on a limb to try to get somebody multiple chances to do this. I've had this once with a concept artist who was doing great work, and we needed to take that work from him and give it to somebody else. It's very tough. You have to understand that I went through a lot, just similarly as the concept artist who did a lot of work, but it was not fitting the game. I'm not saying this was bad. It was just not fitting the game. And this moment is very tough for every manager, for every director, just so that you know it's not like they love doing that. Now, let's look at the green stuff, which is what I've heard from, people working on the content. Just tell me what you need. We call it silos. That's what the managers usually call. I've had a designer, a game designer, who needed to draw a concept art of a VFX to a VFX artist because they said, no, you need to draw it to me, I won't do it otherwise. It's just a sample, guys. I've heard it millions of times. So trying to be too strict, and I think that's what Adrian here calls feature factory. You don't care about anything else? Yeah. So this is just tell me what you need. Be open. In case you've not realized that before, the entire presentation that I'm doing today is about compassion, about being open to other people. So don't just tell me what you need. Tell me what you need, but let's talk about this. Of course, hey, we've been there. We had a lot of people who test things only in a test level. I've had people who finished the entire project and didn't know that there's an 8th mission where you actually do that interaction in a slightly different way, and it's fucked up. But they played on a test level. This is obvious. We can move past it. It will kill in my portfolio. This one, do I have a laser in here? Maybe. There we go. This one doesn't work. Anyways, works fine in test level is, it will kill in my folio is the contra to this one. When a manager says, we will fix this later, or actually by this one, no, it's actually closer. Prioritize by the cringe level, it means take the worst things and do entire project raise in quality, while a lot of people have a tendency to do something that will make their craft look beautiful. This is dangerous for any single project. Just wanted to say that. I've heard it a million times. It's just probably a good thing to share with you. You will see that. You will hear that. Gop told you that. And one day. Don't touch my stuff. This line was, don't break my code, because that's programmer stuff. Mostly when somebody touches code, they don't get well around this kind of stuff. And the most important thing is 9 out of 10 times, yes, they're going to screw up your code. This is going to give you a lot of work, and this is bad. But I've had situations, especially in a project that I worked recently, where, say, a designer changed something, maybe not within the code, but in the structures like behavior trees and whatnot of the enemies. It turned out to be good for the project, even if the programmer, who was furious, trust me, he was furious, needed to spend a day cleaning that shit up. But still, it was good. The project was all the better for it. And the last thing, and I would not be able to stress this one enough. Yeah, I told you, Patrick, I told you, you have a lot of time to do these charts because these slides are slow. I'm taking my time through these. In case you're not, that means you're very experienced and wise, but I think you would be surprised by how many participants of the dev teams do not play their games when they're working on it. I don't want to say if it's half or not, but I've heard it enough and I've seen that enough. People should have time to play their own games, because if your game director, if your creative director or whatever lead is playing the game 10 times more than you, there is a problem. It's good if he plays twice much as you, yeah, but if he plays 0 and he plays, I don't know, 5 hours a week, then it's bad. So we all should play our games. This is a summary of the slide. Guys, if we're all gonna play our game, I was unlucky enough, the last project that I worked with, where the game director, that's the official role, I think, was probably the most playing the game throughout the entire project. Trust me, it's a hell to be in. There's a lot of feedback that doesn't go well in this case. Of course, QA might have been, I know that I'm thinking about this. Yeah, of course. Respect to QA, always. And forever. Now, the lessons learned. I don't want this presentation to be dry and just a couple clouds that I'm going to be yelling with. I do have a couple examples from Evil West, the last game that we've worked on. I wanted to share these with you in no particular order, but I think the reason I have 2 or 3, I think. The most important reason why I'm sharing that with you, yeah, we're good. The most important reason I'm sharing that with you is you need to look at things from the perspective. Somebody wise once said that you can't connect the dots looking forward. Only when you have gone the path and you look backwards, you understand why things ended up the way they did. So let's take do's and dots. That's how I call this. We're going to take 2 features from Evil West. This is actually exclusive content. We've not shown that before. It's going to be vertical slice, back from 2019. If GIFs work well, that's what we've been working for. There's 2 things that are very pivotal and interesting point of Evil West. Not a whole lot of people know, pretty much nobody outside of the dev team knows that we used to want to have, we dreamt about having something that's called adventure map. If anybody played what's the Ni no Kuni? What was the name of this game? Hmm? I was not sure if I remembered the well. You have something that is called an adventure map, which is a tiny, stick figure walking around. It's like a layer between the actual map of the game and the TPP, hands-on, second-to-second combat. We really wanted to. Most of that is actually from the engine. Some of that is mock-ups, like I think the UI and the map. Anyways, what is important? We had that in 2019. We were in love with that. I want to take 5 seconds to thank our publisher who knew that from the very beginning. Guys, you're not going to ship this. This is not going to be possible. And we had, trust me, we had tens of arguments. But hey, this game is going to have non-linearity features. You will be able to choose this mission in no particular... That's fun. Come on, you're going to be moving the stick and covering something in a chest that is just drawn like this. Come on. No. And I want to thank Focus Interactive, who was the main drivers of the situation where we believed that, yeah, we probably are going to have to be cutting this game somewhere down there, further down the road. An adventure map was the first one to be cut. It was fun. It was great. And actually, trust me, it was playable. You could ride this. It actually even have gears, if I'm not mistaken. It was 2019. Don't quote me on that. But that was something, yeah, and that didn't make it into the game. Now, of course, once we did that was end of 2019, so it was still 3 years ago, we decided we need something else in that place. And co-op, if you're making a co-op game, dude, trust me, this is not an easy thing. We were not very experienced in co-op back then. So the 2019 build actually had features that never made it into the game, even though we solely believed this is the shit. We're going to make it. This is going to be cool. This is going to kill this game. This is going to be awesome. Like, if you look at the top GIF in here, this one is actually tearing enemies apart with a combo of 2 players. Actually, the whip doesn't look like that in the final game, but almost nothing does. Anyways, it was a really cool idea. 2 players, like, you can combo, great. Now, the other thing is, I don't know if you see that, but the other player does not look like the main player from the game. It was one of the obvious things, but then life happened. We needed to optimize and so on and so on. And we needed to finish this game to get to do, maybe not even the final one, but to the beta, where we understood and looked back 3 years at these features, and we saw this was never shippable. This is also something that really, really fascinates me when I look back and I look bad all the time, but when I look back and I'm able to draw these conclusions and think about, things that did not happen and think about why. So yeah, I yell at clouds less when I do that. So this is really fun. You should try. So this is the do's and don'ts, connecting the dots. This is very, very important. Now let's go into something else. Let's try to look at something very similar, but from a slightly different angle. Art and visuals, also something that we've never shown to anybody publicly. We had a very strong idea for the stylized art direction of Evil West back in 2019, where we wanted characters to be, like, you've played Dishonored, right? This is a very, very nice and commercially attractive approach to stylization of the characters. But hey, we've never done that before. What could go wrong? So first, the characters were quite heavily stylized. You can see big hands, big jaws. I mean, the really cool thing about stylization is when somebody is just a bandit, he's got a huge jaw. When somebody is a wise guy or a smart guy, he's got a big head. This is really nice tools that you have as a character artist. Actually, the guy in the middle used to be Jesse, the guy that ended up. But just important, interesting tidbits of trivia. Further down the line, it turns out, actually just about November 2019, it turned out that having these characters stylized like this makes them ever so slightly more difficult to animate, to make cutscenes, to make facial animations, and we really knew that we want to invest in cinematics in this game quite a lot, which we did. So what you're seeing in here at the bottom are the cinematics from the final game. I'm not saying for example, the facial movements looks great. That's not what I'm saying. Is that we've tried our best. And we were better off with having more realistic characters because our cinematic team, who is very, very talented, and cinematics are one of our biggest prides of Evil West, and here one of our greatest achievements, one of the best things about this game, to be honest with you. Making it with more realistic characters was just that much easier, which in the end turned out to be simply doable, which is most important. From being fun, I mean, this is fun to think about this guy, this goon in here as being, this very, very heavy stylized, That was not done. That was fun. This is done, and this is doable, and this is great. And we were wrong. We wanted to verify that. All right, one last thing. This is kind of my own prowess. One of the things that I've initiated, I was not the only one to do that, but one of the things that I initiated because of my experience, of my passion of talking to people, looking at them, and trying to, trying to understand everybody and everything, I introduced the internal communication kind of loop. I do both weeklies and monthlies. The weeklies we try to do every week. This is actually a screenshot from the title slide of the very, very first weekly summary of the project. And this is, I think, the last one. So as you can see, it's almost 4 years. Almost 4 years. We tried to do it every week. Then we ended up not so much. All in all, in the end of the project, we are about 100, 110 of these. Each one of them are slides, and I actually make sure to make a call and record it if anybody wants to watch a video. This is me. I was not yelling at the cloud, at least. I was talking to the team, and some people attended these. It was fun. So that was monthly, and then we also did, that was weekly, we also did monthlies. I think that's the first one, that's from the actual November 2019, that's the vertical slice. And I think our beta, which was in April, this might have been the last monthly video. Sometimes they were bi-monthly. I think there's about 24 of these in the entire project. That's a lot of content. All of the developers have access to that, and if you want to look back at the dots and connect them, or think where you were wrong, these are going to be the great source of trying to look at this, because not everybody wants to go through Perforce or Confluence, And yeah, we're almost done, guys. Bear with me, okay? Just for a second. From all my years of shouting at the clouds, I've had a couple things that helped me strive, that helped me work through everything that's been ahead of me. I would like to share that with you. Don't treat me as authority. Remember, always question authorities. But they work for me, and they got me so far, and I'm not saying breaking off. They got me to a moment where I've been 17 years making games right now, and I love every single day of it. And I look forward to every single day of making games right now. It's fun. It's passionate. So I wish you all of that. Now, a couple most important things that I took away. I think we should strive to finish the projects we're in. I understand there's a lot of situations where we can't, a lot of the generational differences that I feel between me and my peers at work. I get that, but I think the most important things happen at the end of the projects, and especially the things that help you understand why you shouldn't make mistakes. Because it's easy to see the mistakes, but if you want to fix them, you should see how the game ends. Some of them are not fixed, and this is also worth seeing at the end. This is just me, personally. I'm always humble. I know I make mistakes. I try to listen to everybody, which might be tiresome, which might be tedious. Some people just talk a lot, and that might be a problem. But that helped me be where I am right now. And being humble, I don't assume I am right. I make mistakes. Like everybody, I have my imperfections, and I strive to make these imperfections one of the most important tools in me, because I know how to fix them, and I've seen through them. That's helped me a lot. If you think about, remember one of the past slides that was, this was going to kill in my portfolio versus prioritized by the cringe? If you're torn, if you don't know, which I am a lot of the times, think about the good of the project. If you put project first, 9 out of 10 times, you're not going to go astray. You're not going to go wrong. This is going to help you. Just stand outside and think what the project is going to benefit from. Like this programmer who yelled at the designer. That 1 time out of 10, I spent an hour on a call with him, trying to listen to him. But in the end, I said, okay, this is actually, listen to me. This is one of these situations where that helped our projects. Combat was slightly better thanks to that. Now, pretty obvious. A lot of people are talking because they're emotional, and the way they're talking is because they've been, I don't know, they've had a lot of problems, even within the project or outside of it. If you listen to somebody, don't always listen to exactly what he's saying, because he's going to be, a lot of people, when they decide to speak out, they say it's fucked. It's fucked beyond repair. So it's usually worth to either dig in or just hold on, let's think about this. And then you see something past it. Why? Maybe we've been managing the team wrong. Maybe we've not been communicating, and so on. This one is very important for me personally, because I not only like talking to people, like right now, but I also think it's very important to, I don't know how to say this. The attention span these days is really short. So if you have a meeting and people are speaking out, it's good when somebody has an opinion. I always prefer that to not having an opinion. But if you're taking too long to express it, if you're not doing that right when it's asked, but you're talking about something else, things like this, they undermine credibility of people, and you will stop to be listened if you share your opinion outside of context, if you don't think about how to say it, make 2 sentences instead of 10, and so on. It is going to pay off in the long run. Okay, we're almost done. I want to play a game with you. Just one more slide, okay, guys? I think it's going to be fun. What I did is I've prepared 3 quotes. This is bonkers. This is totally aside of my presentation. I just want to wake you up at the end. I've prepared 3 quotes. If there's people in here who will understand, who will recognize these quotes, that's great. Let's play a game. All of 3, actually you can see them. I'm ahead of you. All of these 3 quotes are going to appear on the screen simultaneously. Let's take them from left to right. Let's, if you don't mind, let me read the quote, and if somebody knows who said it, you get nothing. But at least maybe you can clap. I don't know. That's probably enough. There you go. Gratisfaction. All right. So the first quote is, you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. Steve Jobs. We can clap to this man right now if you don't mind. Very good. All right, think for yourself, question authority. That was looking backwards at things that happen. That is having an opinion. That is what inspires me to think about being critical, about what others do. Anybody? Sorry? No. Yes and no. It's a sample that Tool used, yes. Nope. Okay, so I made these from the easiest one to the most difficult one, I believe would be probably, I guess, the most difficult one. This is not entrepreneur. Okay, if nobody knows, no problem, don't worry. That's Bill Hicks, one of the comics, very famous comics. He's dead, unfortunately, but he had a knack for doing great comedy, but throwing in a very thoughtful and sentence in the middle of this. This was one of them, and yes, Philip, you were right. Tool used it in one of their songs. Okay, the last one. If you want to impress me, this is my personal motto. If anybody knows who said, I will make weapons out of my imperfections. Don't worry, like, I don't think I've met 2 people who knew that quote anyways. You called it. That's actually Tool, yes. That's Maynard James Keenan from Tool. There's a long story behind this quote, but this is what helps me think about not trying to act and be an authority. I am an old man who yells at cloud. I love doing that. If you want to listen to that, that's great. But I am trying to analyze my mistakes or other mistakes and kind of try to be all the better for it. All right. And I didn't want to make this presentation long. See, it's 34 minutes. That's great. We can talk about this if you want. Anybody? Anything? Thank you very much. Yeah. All right. Okay. All right, that's good. That's good. Take it home and do something positive with it. Thank you very much. Cheers, everybody.